Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone from St. Louis, where the Cubs will try to make it 2 in a row and 10 out of 13 for the year against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Mike Morgan is going to the mound, and he's won 5 of his last 6, looking for number 15. And Real Cormier going to the mound for St. Louis, and he's 6-10.
And it's a beautiful night for a ball game, so stay with us. We'll be back with the starting lineups in a moment. Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone and Tom Brenneman. The first pitch of the ball game. A strike call to Doug DeCenzo, hitting .245. Nothing out of 1 last night. Hitting .308 for the year against Redbird pitching. Switch hitter. Ozzie Smith over to first. Easy out. Pepsi presents a Cubs starting lineup. DeCenzo on center, Sandberg at second, Grace at first. Dawson and right, Bouchette at third, May and left. Girardi catching Arias at short, and Mike Morgan shooting for his 15th is on the hill. The defensive alignment for the Cardinals: Canseco, Langford, Jose, Zeal, Ozzie Smith, Pena, and Brewer. Cormier pitching, and Gedman catching. Cormier, a left-hander, and the pitch a little bit outside to Ryan Sandberg.
Cormier is not overpowering, but he does have outstanding control. His strikeout to walk ratio 3-1. He's fanned 90. He's walked just 30.
There's a pitch in there, a strike call, and the count is evened up.
Real is a native Canadian from Moncton, British Columbia, and there's the numbers against the Cubs. No record and a pretty respectable ERA.
Pitch inside. In games today, Minnesota knocked off California 7-2. Detroit handed Clemens and the Red Sox a loss by the score 9-5. The Yankees won their 6th in a row, beating Kansas City 11-9. Oakland down Seattle 5-4. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Inside, ball 3. The appeal, first base umpire Bill Hahn says no, he did not go around.
Surprisingly, Cormier is 3rd on the staff in strikeouts, and the 2 men ahead of him have 98 to his 90. So despite the fact he's still a very young pitcher, he can strike you out.
3-2 pitch. Fouled out of play. The umpires, Bob Davidson behind the plate, Bill Hahn at first, Frank Pulley at second, and John McSherry at third.
Cormier got off to an 0-6 start this year, but since then he's thrown the ball particularly well. And the Cardinals have won 8 of their last 9 series because the pitching has gotten markedly better.
Inside, ball 4, and Sandberg, who was 3 out of 5 last night, is on there with a walk. And that brings up Mark Grace, who also had 3 out of 5 last night, as the Cubs wallop the Cardinals 8-2. Craig Lefferts making another start for Baltimore. Was touched for 4 runs by Milwaukee in the first. Milwaukee leading 4-0. Pitch a little bit high, ball 1. The White Sox out in front of Cleveland 3-0 at the end of 2. Toronto and Texas just getting underway. That's what happened in the American League today. All the National League games are tonight. Line drive, base hit. Here comes Sandberg around second. He's going to try for third. He makes it. And on the throw, Grace goes to second.
This is not a good play by Canseco because Sandberg is kind of baiting him into throwing the ball to third base. He knows if he does that, number 1, he can't get him, and number 2, Mark Grace is going to go into second. If Canseco comes up firing to second, it's doubtful if Grace would go that way. Canseco does not have much of an arm, and Sandberg, taking advantage of that, comes all the way to third. Grace is the trailer, goes in to second base.
Grace apparently is given a double by the official score. He doubled Sandberg to third. I guess Canseco had a tough time where he fielded the ball, being able to throw to second base and get Grace. And I guess that's why the score called it a double instead of taking second on the throw to third. Here's Dawson now. Nothing out of 4 last night. High pop foul back out of play. Dawson hitting .294 with a home run against the Cardinal pitching staff this year. He's 10 out of 34. Sandberg and Grace have worn out the Cardinal pitching staff all year. Sandberg hitting .360 with 2 homers and Grace .350. 0-1 the count on Dawson. High curveball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Langford has a decent arm in center field. He's very accurate, and Jose a strong arm in right. But they've got to play deep to respect the power of Andre Dawson. He's won most fly balls. Sandberg should score easily.
1 ball, 1 strike. Runners second and third. Pops it up on the infield. And Rod Brewer makes the catch. Dawson popped to Brewer. Boy, oh boy, the Cubs sure have trouble getting men in from third with less than 2 outs.
That's been a continuing lament this entire season. The Cubs have had their problems, although the last couple of weeks they're swinging the bat a lot better as a team. Cubs team batting average up to .251 coming in, but anytime you leave a man at third with less than 2 outs, you're courting danger from a club that's leading the National League in hitting, and that's what the Cardinals are doing.
Here's Steve Buechele, 1 out of 4, drove in another run last night. Comes up with 2 out now. Strike call. Remember 1954?
I do. Cleveland won 111 games and lost to the Giants in the World Series.
Well, on this date, September the 12th, 1954, Cleveland beat the Yankees 3-2 before a crowd of 84,587. Swung and he missed. So those were good old days in Cleveland.
Cleveland had a wonderful year that year, and the Giants swept them 4 straight. Behind the great Willie Mays catch off the bat of Vic Wertz and Dusty Rhodes coming off the bench to hit home runs.
Steve Buechele. 0-2 the count. Runners second and third. Dawson, the key man in this inning, but Cormier got him to pop out. Now there's 2 away. Struck him out. Damn the inning. 2 men are left on base, no runs. We go in the bottom of the first, no score. Harry Carey back at the ballpark here in St. Louis. The Cardinal lineup, Geronimo Pena leading off. Ozzie Smith, the chart. Ray Langford playing center. Felix Jose in right. Rod Brewer, the first baseman. Ozzie Canseco in left field. Todd Zeile at third. Rich Gedman catching. And Real Cormier, the pitcher. And Pepsi presents the defensive alignment for the Cubs of May, DeCenzo, and Dawson in the outfield. Buechele, Arias, Sandberg, and Grace on the infield. Girardi catching, Morgan pitching. We already have given you the umpires, and here's Pena to lead it off. Curveball, a little bit high.
Morgan making his 30th start of the year, his first against the Cardinals, and lifetime 2-2 against St. Louis with a .335 ERA.
There's the pitch in there, a strike call. Well, a partner, Tom Brenneman, celebrating a birthday today. He is 29 years old. 1 ball, 1 strike. Curveball low and outside. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tom Brenneman. Happy 29th to you. Here's a pitch outside. Well, in spite of that, Tom, I hope you have a great 29th birthday.
Well, I think he is going to have a good one, Harry.
3 balls and a strike.
His mother came in, and she's going to be with him after the game.
I guess that's a shot to Manby Cohen, huh?
Oh, I don't think so.
3 balls, 2 strikes. Geronimo Pena. He struck him out. Mike Morgan is making his 30th start of the year. He's permitted 2 runs or less in 17 of his last 21 games.
Morgan got Pena exactly how Maddox got him yesterday. Pena fanned 3 times, and he threw the off-speed pitch away from Pena. Exactly what Morgan did to him leading off the ball game tonight.
Morgan has only given up 226 walks in 805 innings. That's averaging out to about 2.5 walks per game. Ozzie Smith takes the ball. Curveball, a little bit low, ball 2. Ray Langford would be next.
Cardinals have swiped 179 bases. They lead the National League in that department, but they also lead the National League in getting thrown out stealing.
There's a strike call. On this day back in 1976, Minnie Minoso singled in 3 times at bat for the White Sox at age 53. They have a feature here in the only paper they have in St. Louis, and they run this date in baseball, which is a popular feature in a lot of newspapers. Chicago does it too. 2-2 pitch. Bouncing ball. Sandberg will throw him out. 2 gone. The Cubs wasted a chance to jump out in front. They had runners at second and third with only 1 out. But Dawson popped out, and Buechele struck out.
The only time Ray Langford hurt Greg Maddox last night was when he got a changeup, threw it on the inner portion of the plate. Other than that, he held Langford pretty much in check. And if Morgan stays away from Langford, he'll probably get him.
Langford hitting .294. Fastball a little bit high. Langford has hit a homer against the Cubs this year. He's had 13 hits and 48 times at bat. There's Joe Torre, the popular Cardinal manager, and a great ball player himself. He started out as a catcher, wound up playing third base. He caught for Milwaukee when they were the Braves, and he played third base for the Cardinals. That was the most valuable player one year, and led the league, I think, hitting .376. Ball 3 to Ray Langford. 2 out, nobody on. Strike call.
Kind of ironic that Joe Torre played for the Braves, the Mets, and St. Louis, and wound up managing the Braves, the Mets, and St. Louis.
There's a high fly ball, should be caught. Arias in left center makes the catch. Langford popped to shortstop Alex Arias. 1-2-3 at the end of 1, no score.
Hey, Cub fans, the 1992 Cubs gift catalog is now available and features over 150 great Cubs gift ideas. To receive your free Chicago Cubs gift catalog, call 1-800-248-9467 during regular business hours.
Derek May leading it off against Cormier. The pitch. Had a good cut miss. Joe Torre's greatest year in the National League was 1971. He won everything, including the most valuable player. He hit .363 to lead the league. He drove in 137 runs to lead the league. He had 230 hits to lead the league. And at that time, he was a third baseman. 0-2 the count. Bouncing ball, that ought to be easy. Pena throws him out. Joe Girardi coming up. You know, funny you should mention the managing the Braves. He won a division title for the Braves. And his last year, he tied for second. The year before, he was second. The year before, he won the title. And those people think he got a bad rap at Atlanta. He had done an outstanding job and got fired for it.
I think that's one of the reasons why he was asked back here to St. Louis, that and the fact that he was a very popular player here. And he's turned into a pretty good manager.
There's a pitch, swung on, high fly ball, foul territory, going to be out of play. Not only that, but for several years, he was a television announcer for the California Angels on the Tribune's station out in Los Angeles.
Well, Harry, that's what's
the Angels game. KTLA, I think it is.
Well, that's what's made him a great manager. The fact that he got to watch the game from up here for a while.
No, everybody up here in the booth manages every day. He just got so much experience managing and put him back on the field to run a ball club. And he's doing a great job of it with the Cardinals. 1 out. High fly ball, easy out. Girardi flies to Felix Jose. I just can't understand Girardi. Seems to me he's a much better hitter than would be indicated. He's got a respectable enough average, but all year long he's had a total of 5 extra base hits, 3 doubles, 1 triple, and 1 home run. That's in 257 times at bat. He's a big, strong guy. You'd think he'd hit with much more power.
Well, I think one of the reasons, Harry, is the fact that he still is only 1 year removed from all of the back problems, and he's still pretty much mending. Perhaps next year coming back, he will be a lot stronger, and maybe with that, the bat will be quicker, and he will get the extra base hits.
There's a line drive in the center field, and there's Arias again. Boy, oh boy, is he hitting the ball. A line single to center. And that brings up Mike Morgan.
Cormier was the 6th-round draft choice in June 1988. And it could prove very costly that they decided to keep him, because when Montreal came to St. Louis to talk about the deal for Andres Galarraga, they originally wanted Cormier, number 1, because he was a Canadian, number 2, because he was a left-hander. St. Louis said, no, you can't have Cormier, take Ken Hill. Well, they did take Ken Hill, and Hill has put together a great year for the Expos.
There's the pitch to Morgan. He tried to check. He went around. There he is, batting 8th with 2 out, getting a hit. Even if Morgan doesn't hit and he's not a bad inning pitcher, it gets him out of the way for next inning. They'll start fresh with the top of the batting order. There's a pitch outside. A ball and a strike, 2 out.
Cormier knows that Gedman is not the quality catcher of Tom Pagnazzi, and he's taking a very low leg kick. It's a slide step, and that really speeds him up coming home. He's going to be tough to run against tonight.
Bouncing ball, Ozzie Smith. Easy out on the force out. Smith unassisted. We go in the bottom of the 2nd, no score. Harry carrying Steve Stone as we go in the bottom of the second. Felix Jose hitting .295 with 13 homers, 60 RBI, hitting .269 for the year against the Cubs pitching. There's a curveball high. Remember, the Misericordia Family Fest will be held tomorrow, September the 13th. Tomorrow, all day, at Misericordia. Curveball high again, ball 3.
Jose's hit 13 home runs and pretty evenly divided. 7 from the left side, 6 from the right side. And he is a good hitter.
There's a pitch in there. Strike call.
Now Morgan has fallen behind just about every one of the Cardinal hitters, and he's got to start getting ahead or he might have some difficulties tonight.
3-1 pitch. There's a long drive down the left field line, and it is in foul territory and out of play. Judge Raymond S. Kelly wants to wish a happy 100th birthday to Pauline Hummel at the Our Lady of the Angels Nursing Home in Joliet. Speaking of that, I'm reminded Red Shandies was honored prior to the game tonight. 50 continuous years in professional baseball. There's a bouncing foul. Out of play. Red started his pro career in 1942 at Albany, and he has served as a player, coach, and manager ever since. He's worn a major league uniform for 47 years, including 41 years with the Cardinals. There's a high fly ball. DeCenzo's there, makes a catch. 1 away. Jose flied to DeCenzo in left center. 1 away. So Red has had that Cardinal uniform on longer than anybody else in the Redbirds' 100-year history. They're celebrating the 100th year this season. His daughter Colleen sang the national anthem before the game. And what a guy he is and has been. Red and I broke in together with the Cardinals in 1945. He was a great shortstop, but he opened the season as a left fielder. The first play of the game, a low line drive. And the guy who had played on, there's a line drive, base hit. Rod Brewer lines a single to center. And that's his second hit against the Cubs over the last 2 years, 2 out of 16. He had his other hit last night. And the first chance the Red had, first play of the ball game, playing a strange position, left field, and made a one-handed shoestring catch. And that started a Hall of Fame career. One ball, no strikes, 1 out, 1 on.
So far, Joe Torre is pretty impressed with the way Ozzie Canseco can swing the bat. They're not too sure about his defensive prowess, but they think he's got a chance to be a pretty good hitter.
Good curveball over the outside corner. It looked like Ozzie kind of froze on that one. His knees bent. He's hitting .280, 2 out of 3 last night. Torre loves his live bat. He stands up there just like his twin brother. There's the pitch low. 2 balls and the strike, 1 out. They're from Schererville, Indiana. The Osterhoff family.
Cubs play Canseco straight away. They haven't seen him enough to really get a read as to where he usually hits the baseball.
He fouls it off. 2-2.
What he looks like he is a dead pull hitter, however, and I think that Maddox had some success when he ran the fastball in, but kept it up. And if Morgan doesn't think he's got that kind of a fastball tonight, he'll probably stay away with a curveball and try to get him off speed out there.
1 out, 1 on. Throw to first.
Brewer is not one of the faster Cardinals, and you usually don't have to worry about him running much.
2-2 pitch. Fastball high and inside. Ball 3. Ron Brewer, a first baseman, lives in Zellwood, Florida. Let's see if he'll go. 1 out. There he goes. Ground ball to short. Long throw in time. And Brewer advanced to second base, running on the pitch.
Arias has to hurry, as Canseco has pretty good speed for a big man. This breaking ball away, and he does try to pull it, which usually winds up in a ground ball to shortstop. And the high throw, but Mark Grace is able to make the catch.
The Yankees won their 6th in a row today. Atlanta's going for its 8th in a row tonight. Darren Dalton now leading the National League in RBIs with 99. 1 ball, no strikes. Good save by Joe Girardi. 2 out, Tanzil. 0 for 5 last night.
You know, Harry, it is conceivable that Gary Sheffield, going for the Triple Crown, will win none of the jewels.
And there's no doubt it is conceivable. But cannot be denied he will have had, nevertheless, a tremendous season.
Better than Joe McIlvaine could have ever imagined when he made a great deal with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Now the pitch in there, a beauty, a curveball. Morgan, the other half of the Las Vegas connection. Maddox won his game last night. Mike's trying to win his today. Ball high and inside. Ball 3.
Morgan has not thrown a first pitch strike yet, and that usually puts him in a hole. Now, a lot like Maddox yesterday, who did not have a 1-2-3 inning through the first 8 innings, Morgan has started out behind.
3 balls and the strike. 2 out. Ball 4, he walked him. That brings up Rich Gedman, the left-hand hitting catcher, a veteran. He's hitting only 179 with 1 homer and 5 RBIs.
Gedman making just his 21st start of the year as Tom Pagnazzi has caught 124 games. Torrey loves Pagnazzi behind the plate. He's made only 1 error this year, and he feels that he handles the pitchers exceptionally well. But you have to rest him every now and then, and Gedman getting the start. Over his last 6 starts, Gedman has hit over 300, although he got off to such a terrible start that batting average is still way down.
Gedman, a 33-year-old veteran. Fastball a little bit low. Gedman broke in with the Boston Red Sox back in 1980, so he's been around a long time. There's a strike off. He was with the Red Sox from 1980 through 1990.
I guess
then went to Houston and now with the Cardinals.
You would say Gedman would have to be in line for a pretty substantial raise. He raised his batting average over 70 points. He had 106 last year, hitting 179 this year.
Well, if you work hard, you'll show some improvement. Gedman had some years where he hit home runs for the Red Sox, 24, 18, 16. Whoa, look out. Look at that. Throws over the first. You know, Mike Morgan reached for the bat, and it was a ball that bounced down to Sandberg, who threw him out. So 2 men left on base. At the end of 2, no score.
Cub fans, plenty of good seats are available for all of next week's homestand. Come and see the Cubs battle the New York Mets or the Philadelphia Phillies. For tickets, visit any Ticketmaster location or call 312-831-CUBS. That's 312-831-CUBS.
We go in the top of the third. And Dougie DeCenzo bounced out his first time up, will lead it off. The top of the batting order, DeCenzo hitting .244, no homers, 16 runs batted in. And he's been a bat a lot of times. There's a ground ball off Zeal's glove. A base hit, he may go for two. He's on his way to second base with Phil. Not in time. DeCenzo grounded a double off of Zeal's glove.
Last night, Zeal made a great play against Andre Dawson. But coming in, you see what happens if you have any kind of reputation as a bunter. DeCenzo brought in Zeal. He was very close. Normally, that's a routine ground ball to third. But playing as close as he was, Zeal just barely got a glove on it. And when the ball deflected and slowed down considerably, the Cubs once again took advantage of the arm of Canseco, something they're going to do in this entire series.
Here's Sandberg. He walked his first time up. Cubs had a great chance to break out in front in the first. High outside, ball one. And with Morgan pitching like Maddox, makes a difference to get them out in front. They're good pitchers. They'll make a couple of runs, stand up.
This is the second time through the order, and the Cubs now realize what kind of stuff Cormier has and just about how hard his fastball will come in. So they should hit him a little better than they did the first time through the order.
There's a long drive. DeCenzo tagging up the ball with the caught. DeCenzo advances from second to third after the catch, and Graves can put the Cubs into the lead. No score. We're in the top of the third. Sandberg advanced DeCenzo with a long fly ball.
Now you'll get an idea of what Joe Torre thinks about Mike Morgan, and he's showing you by moving the infield in, even though it's the third inning. He figures this to be a low-scoring game, and very rarely will you see the infield in with no score in the third. But he figures that Morgan's going to be tough on the Cardinals, and he wants to stop the run from scoring.
Grace doubled his first time. Curveball inside. Cardinals have swiped 179 bases and been caught stealing 96 times. Bouncing ball. Run won't score on that. Rays rolled to Pena, who held DeCenzo at third and threw on Martin. 2 out. Here's Dawson.
This becomes a big at-bat for Andre Dawson, because if Andre does not drive home the run, it'll be the second time in 3 innings that the Cubs have had a man at third with less than 2 outs and failed to score him.
Dawson popped up with runners at second and third in the first. Up there with a runner at third, 2 out. There's a strike call over the outside corner at the knee. I got a feeling that Dawson's going to go downtown with one of Cormier's pitches. Cubs about hit him 3-1. High inside.
Well, he will hit Cormier very hard if Cormier decides to stay inside. I'm kind of surprised Gedman set up in there. Normally, Cormier will sink the ball away from the right-hand hitters, especially the powerful right-hand hitters.
Cormier has given up 13 home runs already. Swung, and he missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Good curveball. A lot of Cub fans are on hand. Big crowd tonight. Must be about 45,000. There's a looping liner in the short center field. It drops for a hit. A run is in. And the Cubs lead 1-0. Dawson was fooled on the pitch. Just looped it in the short center. And DeCenzo scores the first run of the night.
Here's the only problem with staying inside Andre Dawson. He's strong enough to muscle the ball out into center field. Driving in his 73rd run, the Cubs go on top. And Cormier did not use the outside corner at all, and it cost him. So Andre with a big hit. And that 2-out run batted in is a lift to the ball club.
Well, I guess the DeCenzo went to the dugout and said to Mike Morgan, well, there's your lead. Now go out there and hold them. Cubs out in front 1-0. Buechele fan to end the first inning. Leading runners at second and third. There's a strike ball. Top of the third. Rod Brewer holding the runner. Dawson on. Buechele. Throw over. Buechele has hit .277 since joining the Cubs. He's had 1 homer and 20 RBI. Swung, and he missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. That's a pitch he went down swinging on in the first inning.
And I think Joe Coleman, the pitching coach, has worked with Cormier on that slide step. When Cormier first came in the league, I'm sure he had some problems with the base runners. And now with the slide step, he becomes very difficult to get a lead and steal against.
Bouncing ball, foul. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Tom Brenneman celebrating his 29th birthday on this, the 12th day of September. And he'll be along at the end of the inning. Again, he fouled it back. Had a good cut at that one.
That run scored by the Cubs snapped a 20-inning scoreless streak for Real Cormier. So he's turned it on the second part of this season.
One ball, 2 strikes. Foul tips it. You know, I would think the guy with a name like Real Cormier would be from New Orleans. But as Steve told you, he's from Canada. He lives in a town called Shediac, British Columbia. Shediac. That sounds like a rock tune. 1 ball, 2 strikes. High fly ball will be caught. Langford in straightaway center. 1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. We go in the bottom of the third. Cubs out in front, 1-0. Harry Carey back at Bush Memorial Stadium. We go into the bottom of the third. Cormier, the pitcher, grounds one on the first pitch. Right to Grace, easy out. 1 away. You know, Maddox is third in the National League in earned run average with 2.22. Bob Tewksbury of the Cardinals leads the league with .05. Morgan is fourth, right behind Maddox with 2.37. Maddox is second with 17 wins to Glavin, who has 20. Morgan shooting for his 15. The Cubs probably have the best 1-2 pitching duo in baseball. And that's probably the reason they've been leading the league in pitching all year long. Both have worked a lot of innings, great earned run averages, keep you in ball games. Maddox, with any kind of offensive support, could have 22, 24 victories by now.
Well, you heard of the old saying, Harry. Spawn and Sane and pray for rain.
Yeah.
Well, it's Maddox and Morgan and pray for a free agent next year. And there's the ERA title in the National League with Tewksbury on top, followed by Billy Swift, and then the M&M boys.
Pena takes the pitch inside. Maybe we ought to follow Morgan and Maddox out to Las Vegas. Maybe we'd have some of their ability rub off in luck.
Well, I think Arnie Harris is going to spend a lot of time researching the abilities of Morgan and Maddox during the winter in Las Vegas.
I understand he almost won the Fairmont racetrack today.
Very close to it.
3-2 pitch. Ball 4. And Pena, very fast base runner. With 3 and 2, Morgan curved him but threw it badly.
Joe Torre thinks that next year, Geronimo Pena is going to be a much better base runner. He's got great speed. But despite the great speed, he's only stolen 7 bases this year. He's been thrown out 5 times. Right now, he lacks the base runner's arrogance. And that means that you have to run any count, any time, and just be confident you're going to make it. DeShields and Grissom have it for Montreal, and Pena has to find it here in St. Louis.
Well, that's a good point. You know, I can't help but think of Lou Brock and Maury Wills. You talk about a base stealer's arrogance. They knew they could steal. And they never hesitated to let everybody know that they knew they could steal.
And they did it a different way, Harry. I remember Maury Wills got a big lead, but Lou Brock didn't. Brock would have a small lead. You'd look over there. You didn't think he could possibly steal. You'd throw the ball. He was standing on second base. You
know, an amazing thing. I was with the Cardinals from the day Lou Brock was acquired from the Cubs in a trade that'll never be forgotten by either city, by the way. But I was amazed to find out that Brock thought it was much easier to steal on a left-hander than a right-hander. I always was led to believe that a left-hander had an advantage in holding the runner close.
2 different kind of moves. The right-handed move is a quickness move, Harry. The left-handed move is one of deception.
There's Pena, almost went, changed his mind.
Now, base runners have a key, and every great base runner keys on something else. Some of them look at the back leg. Some of them will look at the front shoulder. Others will look at what he does with his hands in the stretch position. As soon as he starts down with the hands, many guys will go. And every great base runner has that one key, and that's what he uses to steal.
There's a pitch. You got to hurry. He is out at first with 2 out. The Cardinals again have a man in scoring position. The runner was breaking with the pitch, and the ball was bounced high off the synthetic turf by Ozzie Smith. But Morgan was able to throw him out. Here's Ray Langford. Boy, that Darren Dalton, what a year he has had.
He drove in 4 more yesterday.
Yeah. That's how he got to 99. And he also hit a home run. There's a high pop fly over near the stands, out of play.
I don't think people appreciate how difficult it is for a catcher to drive in 100 runs in a season, Harry. It doesn't happen very much.
Stan Lapata held the record previously for the Phillies with 25, I think it was. Dalton now has 26. Let's pause here for station identification.
This is WGN-TV Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
1 strike and nothing. Langford, dangerous left-hand hitter. Strike called over the inside corner. Langford has fanned 132 times this year. That's an awful lot of strikeouts for a guy who's as good a hitter as he is, because he doesn't really, you don't think of the long ball so much. There's a drive in the left field, way back, way back, way back. It might be out of here. He does hit one out of here to the opposite field. Over the left field wall, his 16th home run of the year. And the Cardinals have taken the lead. Holy cow. The left-hand hitting Ray Langford hit one over the left field wall.
Morgan has now given up his 11th home run ball, and Langford has driven in 70 runs, and he got a curveball out away and took it the opposite way. This curveball is a little higher than Morgan would have liked with an 0-2 count, and Langford just drilled it over the head of Derek May.
There's another pitch hit hard by Jose. It's out of here. And Felix Jose lifted a high fly ball over the right field wall. And he hits his 14th homer of the year. Wow. Boy, that happened in a hurry.
Cardinals as a team have now hit 80 home runs. And back-to-back against Morgan, and it's back-to-back curveballs, and this one is up. And Jose takes it way back. Andre Dawson runs out of room. And the Cardinals have a 2-run lead.
Here now is a high pop fly hit by Brewer in the short left field. And Arias pulls it down. So, 3 runs on 3 hits. Harry Carey from St. Louis, where the Cardinals, at the end of 3, lead the Cubs 3-1.
Hi again, everybody, along with our producer, director Arnie Harrison, Steve Stone, Tom Brenneman back in St. Louis. Back-to-back home runs in that bottom of the 3rd by Ray Langford and Felix Jose. The Cardinals don't show a whole lot of power, but they did in that inning.
Morgan got behind, and then this inning, he got ahead of him, Tommy, and an 0-2 pitch, I thought, just a little too good, and Langford took it the opposite way. That's not easy to do in this park.
Well, he is a strong man, former football star, a running back, and you all know the story about Felix Jose. I'm not sure he couldn't knock one out of the Grand Canyon when he gets a hold of it. So Real Cormier takes him out. He gave up a Cub run in the top of the 3rd. He, however, this time now leads by a pair. And a count of 2-2 on Derek May. May bounced to Geronimo Pena's only time up. Well, for the 2nd straight night, we have a battle for 3rd place. Cubs took it away from St. Louis last night. They're trying to hold on here tonight. May a fly ball to Langford for the first down in the Cub 4th inning.
Tom, to give you an idea how rare it is for back-to-back home runs against the Cubs, that was the first time this year that anybody has hit back-to-back home runs against any of the Cub pitchers. The first time this year that Mike Morgan has given up 2 home runs in 1 game. And it has to come on your birthday. So happy 29th birthday. And I know the whole crew wishes you a very happy day today.
Well, thank you very much. Chopper over the mound. Zeal cannot get it. And Girardi will be credited with an infield single, 5th hit of the game for Jim Lefebvre's team.
Joe Girardi scratches one out in the infield. It's a slider. Zeal coming across. It's a do-or-die play. He knows Girardi runs pretty well, and he can't come up with it. So Girardi with a base hit. And the Cubs trying to do something about that 2-run deficit. Tommy, I got a card from a friend of yours. I don't know what the message means. It's something about Pinhead, you better clear up your bar bill at the Blind Lemon, signed Eddie Shepard. Do you know anything about that?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay, I just
Eddie
want to know.
Shepard, is that the name?
Yeah. The Pinhead was underlined in italics.
Oh, yeah, good buddy of ours. Just hopefully he won't be coming to see us in spring training this year. That wore me out. 1 on, 1 out. Cardinals leading 3-1 here in the top of the 4th inning. And Cormier just missed. Boy, what a decidedly different pitcher Cormier is these days, Tony, than when we saw him earlier this year. And really, he pitched some of his best games against the Cubs, despite the fact that he was struggling against everybody else.
I think he's gotten a lot more confidence now. And I don't know what to attribute it to, although Joe Coleman has been working with him. But I think one of the things, Tom, he's got a slide step now that he didn't have before, which means he's holding the base runners closer. I think he's more aggressive. He's throwing a lot more first pitch strikes. And early in the season, he was getting behind all the time. Right now, he does look like a different pitcher, and they've got high hopes for him.
One and 2 to Arias. And it goes to 2 balls, 2 strikes. Well, Cormier, since being brought back from Louisville, an ERA of about 2.59, 17 games, 16 of those starts. As the story goes anyway, being a French Canadian by birth, apparently the Expos, when they were talking with the Cardinals about trading for Galarraga, Cormier is a fellow they wanted in return. The Cardinals said, no, we're not willing to trade Cormier, but how about Ken Hill? Expos said, we'll be happy to take Ken Hill. And I should say they are. 15 wins later for Kenny Hill, the Expos are in the hunt for a National League Eastern Division championship.
And I think that trade is going to wind up being Kenny Hill for somebody who will depart after this season, because the Cardinals have the option on the contract of Andres Galarraga. I think the contract calls for about $3 million for next season, and everybody around here in St. Louis figures that the Cardinals will let Galarraga go his own way and see what he can do. They feel that Rod Brewer has a great glove at first base, equal to that of Galarraga, and probably will hit just about the same for a whole lot less money.
Still 2-2, and Girardi's still leading over at first base. Count now has gone full, and we'll see if the runner gets started with the pitcher Mike Morgan due up next.
I think that Joe has got to be careful in the move, and I think that's what Jose Martinez is talking to him about. You want to make sure that the pitcher delivers the ball if you are going.
There goes Girardi, and it's taken ball 4. So the Cubs, after falling behind 3-1 in the bottom of the 3rd, have 2 on and only 1 out in the top of the 4th.
Tommy, we have a special surprise for you from someone very close to you, and we'd like you to take a look at this.
Tom, it's hard to believe that 29 years ago you burst on the scene, so to speak, down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. But as I've often said, when you're having fun, time flies. We've had a lot of fun together, and you've certainly had a lot of fun the last few years in working as a broadcaster with the Chicago Cubs. I just wanted to let you know that on your day, I'm very proud of you, proud of what you've accomplished, and proud of the fact that you're my son. Happy birthday. Your old man loves you.
Very nice.
Pretty nice from the senior Brenneman, and of course that was in lieu of a gift, Tom, so you'll be getting nothing from your dad.
Well, I thank Arnie and the rest of the crew for being able to put that together tonight. That was very, very warm and touching, and guys, I thank you. He's aged a little. I got to remind him of that, by the way.
You're looking at your future, buddy, so don't be too hard on him.
Morgan up there to move the runners along, and he bunts it out in front of the plate. Good bunt here on the turf, and it gets the job done. That is Morgan's team best 11 sacrifice. Girardi to third base, Arias on to second.
Well, as much difficulties as the Cubs have had in the sacrifice department, you certainly can't blame Mike Morgan. He's done a good job in that department. Maddox also with 10 sacrifices, so the M&M boys have been able to lay the bunts down. And in close games, that's going to really help you. Now it's up to Doug DeCenzo. If he can get the batting donut off his bat, he'll have an opportunity to drive in a couple of runs.
Saw a highlight of a game, strangely enough, played right here in St. Louis. Tom Pagnozzi was trying to get that donut up and finally said, I've had it. He just broke the thing in half down in the dugout.
I saw that. That was funny.
So now the Cubs with a chance to tie, trailing 3-1, runners at second and third and 2 away. DeCenzo has doubled, scored, and bounced to short. Strike one from Cormier.
Now DeCenzo is a pull hitter from the right side, and surprisingly Ozzie Smith is playing him up the middle. So with Zeile in at third, and bear in mind DeCenzo hit the ball by him in the third inning, there is a hole on the left side of the infield. And if Cormier stays inside to DeCenzo, that's probably where he's going to hit it.
Brewer even with a bag as well over at first. Zeile has moved back a step or two, and Doug tries to go the other way, and he's fallen behind at 0-2. I was very surprised Zeile was in at third base on that first pitch after what happened to him last time. 2 strikes you can't figure on a bunt.
Another factor also, Tom, is that Doug DeCenzo really is not an accomplished bunter. He will lay down a bunt on occasion. But I think it's a tendency, if you don't know hitters very well, you see a small man up there and you think automatically he's a good bunter, and that's not the case with Doug. Now Zeile well back at third. Ozzie playing even more up the middle now. That would lead you to believe that he feels that Gedman is going to stay away from DeCenzo here.
Cubs with a hit could tie her up, trailing by 2. Girardi at third base. Alex Arias down the trail at second. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Had a good cut at that pitch.
You know, I was talking with Joe Torre before the game, and he said that Pena has an idiosyncrasy at second base that they have to break him of, and that's wandering. They set the defense, and he says he looks out, and Pena, either out of nervousness or whatever, will wander to one side or the other. And he actually pulls himself out of position on occasion. But that's a sign of a young player, and they think they're going to be able to correct that.
Chopper foul, so DeCenzo hanging in there, still with a count of 0-2. A base hit by DeCenzo back in the third inning, just his second hit in his last 17 trips. Outfield playing him to go the other way. Big hole between Smith and Zeile on the left side of the infield. 0-2 again from Cormier, and it's back up through the middle. Ozzie can't get it. 1 run scores. Arias will score, and the Cubs have tied the game at 3.
They're going to give Doug a base hit, but I'll tell you, Ozzie Smith was playing up the middle time. We talked about it the whole at bat, and Ozzie knows how to play hitters, and he was there to make this play. He just didn't make it. Most unusual for Ozzie. When he's in this position, he almost always comes up with the ball, but this one did not hit the dirt part. It stayed on the artificial surface and bounded over the glove. So the Cubs tie it up, and Doug DeCenzo is driven in 17 and 18 on the year. It's that hop right there that didn't hit the dirt that fooled Ozzie.
So now the go-ahead run is DeCenzo at first, taking a pretty hearty lead over there, and Cormier will keep him close. Ozzie Smith set a National League record for fewest errors in a season by a shortstop in 1991 with only 8. And he's very, very fortunate he did not get hung with an error right there. More than fortunate.
DeCenzo had better be careful. He's taking a very big lead, and Cormier does have a good move. Bill Hahn will be watching him closely because Cormier does have a couple of balks this year.
Another throw to first, still 1-0 on Sandberg. Cubs are running the third. 3 runs in the bottom of the third for the Cardinals, but the 2-run single by DeCenzo at 2 down here in the fourth has tied the game at 3.
That shows you, Tom, how important the bunt by Morgan turned out to be, and that's what happens in close games. Early in the season, the Cubs just couldn't execute very well. They lost a lot of close games because they couldn't get the bunt down.
2-0. Let's see if anything's happening with DeCenzo at first base. Nope. And it goes to 2-1.
Gedman is not Tom Pagnozzi. He doesn't have that kind of an arm, but Cormier with a low leg kick gets rid of the ball very quickly.
Two balls and a strike, and this time Cormier will just bluff the throw over. Showed you the numbers a moment ago on DeCenzo. A very poor percentage, 5 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 7 times. Swinging a foul tip, 2-2 on Rhino.
Rhino not very happy because he got a very hittable pitch there. It was a fastball inner half. Normally when he's swinging the bat well, he doesn't miss those, and you can tell by his reaction that he thought that was very hittable. He just swung through it.
DeCenzo, the go-ahead run at first base. 2 down, 2-2 delivery. There goes a runner, and it's hacked straight back. Big crowd, a beautiful night. Apparently they sold every ticket for this game tonight. Obviously you throw in a few no-shows, but better than 45,000 perhaps strong here for the second game in this 3-game series.
And tomorrow more of the same. They felt that last night would be the smallest crowd. It was a little over 30,000. But tonight and tomorrow night, very big crowds expected.
By the way, we'll have radio only for you tomorrow, so please join us. He fooled DeCenzo badly with that move. Sandberg fouls it away.
He did it all with his head, Tom, because he took a quick look at DeCenzo. Doug thought he was going to first. And when Rhino swung the bat, Doug was standing on first, expecting the pickoff move.
The Pirates, by the way, trailing Philadelphia in the 6th inning, 1-0. Montreal, meanwhile, a 3-run home run by Tim Wallach in front of the New York Mets, 3-0. That game now in the 6th. By the mound, into center field, a hit. DeCenzo will slam on the brakes after a wide turnaround second. So the Cubs have their 3rd hit in the inning, and here comes Grace with 2 aboard, still 2 men out.
You don't want to run much on Ray Langford in center field. He's got a very accurate and very strong arm for a center fielder. Ozzie diving, can't come up with it, and Langford quick to the ball in center, so DeCenzo wisely put on the brakes. And the Cubs have taken advantage of Ozzie Canseco all series in left field, and if Mark Grace goes that way with a base hit, Chuck Cartier is going to send home DeCenzo and once again try out that arm.
Well, Mark doubled down the left field line in the 1st inning. He had a runner at 3rd with only 1 out in the 3rd and bounced to Geronimo Pena, unable to get the run home. 3-3 game, top of the 4th, 2 on, 2 out. Ball 1 high to Grace.
Left-hand hitters will tell you that the key to hitting left-hand pitchers is the front shoulder. If you keep the front shoulder in, you're going to be able to stay down on the ball. If you let that front shoulder fly, you're really victimized with the outside pitch, and Grace is just about as good as anybody at hitting the left-hander.
One and one. Grace has only knocked in 10 runs over the past month and a half. But he has a chance with a base hit here to perhaps give his team a lead. Field down to 3rd. John McSherry says no, he didn't go around. 2-1.
And Cormier has set Grace up with inside heat. Let's see if Gedman wants that sweeping breaking ball away. If Grace stays with it, he'll probably hit it to left or left center.
DeCenzo at 2nd, Sandberg at 1st, 2 away in the inning. It is 3-3 game, and now the 2-1 pitch. Tried him outside, and Grace dumps it foul into the stands, and the count is even at 2.
Cardinals have a dilemma because they've got free agent Todd Worrell to consider along with Ozzie Smith. And that's a couple of big name free agents that I'm sure they would love to have back again. And we heard something yesterday, Tom, that kind of surprised me, but I think it's typical of what will happen with a 15-man protected list. Del Maxwell intimating, and he's the general manager of this team, that they might leave Lee Smith unprotected. That would be a gamble.
2 on, 2 down. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Grace hammers it foul. Well, that'd be a big gamble. We brought it up last night. I don't think it would be as large a gamble if you had Worrell signed. But if you leave Lee Smith unprotected, some other team comes along immediately. Lee gets drafted by an expansion club. Somebody wants to give Worrell the big money. All of a sudden you go from having 2 great closers to having nobody.
Well, I think you've got to have a verbal agreement with Todd Worrell already kind of agreed on before you can leave Lee Smith unprotected. Of course, Tom, we know that that's illegal. You can't do that, but occasionally things like that do happen.
Only every now and then. It's like driving 55.
Yes.
That's illegal too. DeCenzo and Sandberg second and first. You see the count. Cormier taking a long time now getting the sign from Gedman. The 2-2 pitch into right field, and it is a foul ball only by a few inches.
That would have scored 2, and Mark Grace came an eyelash from runs batted in 65 and 66. Cormier tried to run the fastball inside, and Grace turned on it and just missed with Bill Hahn down the line. This one hooking. No chance for Jose as you see it, just foul. Cormier has now made 79 pitches in 4 innings. That is not conducive to complete games. That is a lot of work.
Maddox threw 140 last night in 8 innings. And he said he was glad to get out of there.
You could see it, really. He just wasn't the same Maddox, especially in the last couple of innings.
All right, again, here comes the 2-2. And he checks his swing. He did not go around.
Funny, John McSherry looked like he was straightening up to get the appeal, and nobody appealed this. That's kind of surprising. I expected Gedman to at least ask Davidson to get some help from McSherry, but he didn't do it. And the pitcher cannot ask for help. It's got to be the manager or the catcher.
There go the runners on a 3-2, and Grace a 1-hopper at Pena. The inning comes to an end, but the Cubs tie. Couple of runs on 3 hits, 2 left. Middle of the 4th, a 3-3 game. Under a full moon, a picture-perfect night here in St. Louis, Missouri. This storied rivalry continuing here tonight. Cubs 966 wins against St. Louis. They have lost 918. But the Cubs have played them well this season. They've won 9 out of the 12 meetings.
Cubs have had a lot of good luck against the Cardinals, but have been able to hit their pitching staff consistently.
Ozzie Canseco, a count of 1-1, and now it goes to a ball and 2 strikes. Well, Stoney, you know, I'm the kind of fellow who rarely asks for anything. Really don't look for any favors. Basically, I'm saying a rather undemanding sort of a chap. But I would be greatly appreciative if just this one particular day you could reel off that long promo while we're here in St. Louis.
Well, if I have 3-4 innings to get it in, I'll be more than happy to, as Mark Grace does the honors. This is the long promo.
Now watch your hand drop, because that weighs about 8 pounds.
It's unbelievable. Cub fans, this is your chance to vote for the Cub MVP of 1992. To vote, call 1-900-820-CUBS. $1.45 per call. All proceeds benefit charity. Be ready with your favorite Cubs uniform number. With over 16,000 votes cast, Mark Grace leads the team, capturing 38% of all votes cast. Vote today. You only have until the end of the month to vote for your Cub MVP.
Hit into left center field, and Derek May making the knee-high catch, taking away a would-be hit for Todd Zeile. 2 down in the inning.
And it says, Tom, if time permits, I can add one of these phrases. So I'll add the program sponsor, the Robert R. McCormick Tribune Foundation, will contribute $1 for every call made. Children under 18 must have parental permission. As Derek May comes on and makes a pretty good catch out of this one. So, Tom, that is your birthday reading of the Cubs MVP drop-in.
And I can't tell you how proud I am of you, pal, for knocking that one off flawlessly. 2 down in the inning for Rich Gedman in this 3-3 game. Last of the 4th inning. Hammered into right field. And it'll drop. But Andre keeps it in front of him and will hold Gedman to a single. Pretty good play there by the Hawk.
Once Andre realized that he wasn't going to be able to get to this sinking liner, the next job was to make sure it stayed in front of him. Gedman does not have great speed, but Andre comes in and smothers this ball and makes sure that Gedman has to stay at first.
Stoney, what do you think happened to Rich Gedman? This was a fella back in the mid-'80s who had seasons of 24 homers, 18, 16, all with Boston, as many as 80 runs driven in.
It's hard to figure out just exactly what happened, because you look at the batting average the last couple of years, and you can't believe he had 106 last year. He's hitting the 170s this year, and granted, he doesn't get a chance to play much. But maybe, Tom, he's a guy that has the type of swing where he has to play every day, and he was able to do that with the Red Sox. He's not able to do that here with Tom Pagnozzi doing 90% of the catching, and he suffered.
Cormier high into the air over near the stands, and Grace will watch it fall about a dozen rows back.
The one thing that he's got going for him, and the one thing that you'll see, is left-handed hitting catchers have a tendency to stay around this game for a while, because there's not that many of them, and a lot of the backups are left-hand hitting catchers. So if you can stay healthy and you swing the bat from the left side, you will have a job.
Cardinals took a 3-1 lead in the bottom of the 3rd. Back-to-back homers by Langford and Felix Jose. But a 2-run single in the top of the 4th by DeCenzo knotted her up. And that's where we stand with Gedman at first. 2 down in the last of the 4th. 2-2. Playable for Grace off the second bounce, and the inning comes to an end. 1 hit, 1 left. 5th inning around the corner. Cardinals and Cubs are tied at 3. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has the right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is prohibited.
You know, Tom, that's the first time in 10 years when I've been in this booth and did not read the copyright.
Well, you ought to read it again just to keep the streak alive.
You did an exceptional job. I applaud you. But you can have that long promo back.
You don't want to switch?
No. It's not an equitable deal. It's kind of like Lou Brock for Ernie Broglio.
Yeah. Or in more recent times, Ken Hill for Andres Galarraga. 3-3 game. Cormier against Mike Morgan. Cubs 3 runs, 7 hits. Cardinals 3 runs, 4 hits. Dawson to begin the inning and smokes one, but Smith is there. 1 out.
Ozzie makes up for lack of arm strength these days by just knowing where to play the hitters. And you see him as he goes toward a ground ball. If he knows it's going to be a bang-bang play, he's setting up to throw while he gets there. A shortstop like Sean Dunston, with his arm strength, doesn't have to worry about that at this stage of his career. But You see Ozzie getting in position. He knows this is going to be an easy play because the ball is hit hard. But he's about as good as there ever was, I believe, at positioning hitters and getting rid of the ball quickly.
Ozzie has won 12 consecutive Gold Gloves at shortstop. He is one of only 2 players in the history of the major leagues to win a Gold Glove in every year of a particular decade. Smith in the 80s and Brooks Robinson just before him. Long throw and not in time to get Buechele, who legs it out for an infield hit.
He is not playing Steve Buechele to pull, and you have to just flip this ball over. He's really got no chance to get Buechele unless he falls down. And Steve doesn't fall down, so he's legged out an infield hit. And I'm wondering if Buechele is feeling okay because he took a long time to get back to first base.
Eighth hit of the game against Cormier, 1 on 1 out. And here's Derek May. Couldn't get it. May has bounced to second, fly to center fielder Ray Langford. Brewer, pretty nice pickup to second for 1. Relay throw to first, and it's in time. 3-6-3 ends the inning. 1 hit, none left. We head for the last of the 5th. Cubs and Cardinals at 3. 3-3 game after 4.5. Pretty nifty twin killing into the Cub 4th.
For the 9th time this year, Derek May hits into a double play, and Rod Brewer can pick it at first. They love his glove, and Ozzie gets rid of the ball quickly. The 3-6-3 double play, and this is a tough double play to turn.
Top of the order, it'll be Pena, Smith, Ray Langford against Mike Morgan. Surrendered all 3 of the Cardinal runs in the 3rd inning, and all 3 came via the long ball. 2-run shot from Langford. On the very next pitch, solo homer by Jose. Pena walked. He was on base when Langford went deep. He is also struck out. 1-2. Pena, the kind of fella, if he can stay healthy, he's only had 144 at-bats this season, yet 6 home runs. If he gets a chance to play every day, he'll certainly add to those totals, and he has looked at a called 3rd.
Pena not very happy with that, and he is fanned now 4 times the last 2 nights. As Morgan throws that good fastball, turns it over somewhat, and catches the outside corner. Pena thought it was down. Bob Davidson thought it was good enough. And with 2 strikes, that's too close to take.
Morgan is fanned too, and both of them against Pena. Here's Ozzie, who's bounced to second, chopped 1 to the mound.
The last time that Mike Morgan gave up 2 home runs in 1 game was way back on April 24th of 1991, pitching for the Dodgers at Dodger Stadium against Atlanta. So it's been a long time since he's done that.
One to Smith. Count goes to 2 balls and a strike. Mentioned earlier, Ozzie a free agent at season's end. And you would certainly have to believe there are teams that would love to have him playing shortstop on a regular basis. I don't care how old he is. That goes foul, and the count even to 2-2.
I think it's kind of interesting, Tom, with the Cardinals, like most other clubs who are not in the race, looking at a lot of their youngsters. Everybody asking Joe Torre why he's playing Ozzie Smith, and he said that he left it up to Ozzie. He respects him enough to ask him if he wanted to play. He says Ozzie is in magnificent condition and feels he's every bit as strong now as he was early in the season. He's played in 115 games this year. That for a man going on 39 years old at a very demanding position.
inside chopper. Buechele will have to hurry. Cuts it loose and got him by a step and a half. 2 up, 2 down in the Cardinal 5th inning in this 3-3 game.
Left-handed, Ozzie does this intentionally. He wants to chop the ball and try to beat it out. And a fine play by Buechele. You have to play close for Smith, and you have to play this ball aggressively. And Steve pours it across in time.
Ray Lankford, a 2-run home run the opposite way back in the 3rd inning. His 16th round tripper of the season. He popped to Alex Arias ending the 1st. Lankford, not a very tall man, but boy, he is put together. There is lots of strength in that frame.
Lankford hit 9 home runs all of last year. Last year, Tom, he was a leadoff hitter, very concerned with on-base percentage, and he hit just .251. This year, dropping him down in the order, they're worried about runs batted in and power, and Lankford eventually is going to hit 25 home runs because he is as strong as anybody, and he's got a chance to drive in 100 runs if he's in the middle of this order.
1-2 to Lankford. Bases empty, 2 men out. 3-3 game last of the 5th, and glad to have you with us. We invite you to join us on Monday when the Cubs begin an 8-game homestand with the first of 2 against the New York Mets. Into deep left center, but room this time for Derek May. Morgan knocks him down in order. We played 5. Cubs 3, Cardinals likewise. Stone. I'm Tom Brenneman at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. An enthusiastic crowd and a 3-3 game as we're set to begin the 6th. Joe Girardi takes wide from Real Cormier. Ball 1. Joe will be followed by Alex Arias and then pitcher Mike Morgan. Cormier very fortunate to have only given up 3 runs. He has surrendered 8 base hits, has not had a perfect inning tonight. Hit hard, but right at Ray Lankford for the first out of the inning.
Any question comes from Chrissy Anderson, who's 10 years old and lives in Rock Island, Illinois. She's in 6th grade, and she wants to know if a batter swings and has 2 strikes, he misses, but is hit by the pitch, what's going to happen? And Chrissy, you might see it once a year, once every 2 years. A hitter will swing at a ball. It will break down and in if it's a breaking pitch and hit him. But if he doesn't make any contact, if he doesn't foul the ball, then it's strike 3 and the hitter's out. So Chrissy Anderson from Rock Island, Illinois, that's what happens if you swing and the ball hits you afterward.
Alex Arias settling in 1 for 1, single to center in the 2nd, walked and scored on the 2-run single by DeCenzo in the 4th. Little high, 2 balls and no strikes. Arias, the 4th shortstop used by manager Jim Lefebvre this year, and all 4 have had wonderful seasons. Dunston looked as though he was going to have his best year in the major leagues. The way he got started, batting leadoff, hitting upwards of 300. Jose Vizcaíno came along, played very well, particularly with a glove, and had some good games with the bat. Sanchez has been simply brilliant.
I think this is a good sign for the Cub organization, Tom, because there's very few teams in the entire major leagues who could go 4 deep at the shortstop position and still get the kind of production the Cubs have gotten offensively and defensively.
Shortstop to shortstop, 2 down in the inning. Well, as we brought up last night, it certainly beckons the question as to whether or not the Cubs will protect 3 of those 4 in the upcoming expansion draft. Certainly would leave the door open for a possible trade of any one of the 3.
Well, I don't think they had plans to protect Arias, but he's looked so good. I don't think they can afford to protect him. And he might have gotten himself a job in the major leagues by the performance and the opportunity that he's gotten late in the season.
Ball will drop fair just down the line. Jose barehands as it comes off the mound, tries to fire it back in behind Morgan. So still, Real Cormier has not gotten through a perfect inning on the night.
Mike Morgan saw Greg Maddux get a couple of hits yesterday, and in their friendly battle to see who will donate some money to a worthy cause in Las Vegas, Morgan figures he's got to step it up. Both pitchers think they probably have 3, at most 4 more starts, and Morgan is trailing in the hit department. Tom, let me pose a question to you. If you're Jim Lefevre, do you go to Mike Morgan and Greg Maddux and say, look, we've got some trouble in the number 5 starting spot. We'd like to throw you guys with 3 days rest and go to a 4-man rotation. Would you consider doing that at this point of the season?
Well, I think it would have to be up to the pitchers, Steve, to be completely honest with you. I mean, it's not as though the team is contending for a divisional championship. That's almost on an individual, I think, kind of basis. I think if Morgan felt as though he could do it, Maddux particularly could mean the difference in winning a Cy Young or just getting edged out by Tommy Glavine. There's a base hit into left center. Langford over to cut it off. Morgan will stop at second base, so consecutive singles after the first 2 were retired.
Well, that's what I was thinking about, and that is if you throw them on the 4th day, you're going to get each pitcher 1 more start, 1 more chance to win a game. And both of them being sinker ballers, I would think that it would be advantageous to throw a 3 days rest. Now, the question is, as you look at the starts, and both of them have had their quota of starts. Maddux with 31, Morgan making his 30th tonight. If they feel their arm is strong enough, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go to that, because the Cubs, as you know, would love to finish 3rd. They have had a tremendous amount of difficulty with the number 5 starting spot. Maybe Jim Lefevre, Larry Himes would consider going to him and seeing what the pitchers feel about that.
Now Mike Perez starting to get loose down in the Cardinal bullpen. Girardi and Arias were retired to begin the inning, but back-to-back singles by Morgan and DeCenzo sets up a 2-on, 2-out situation for Sandberg, who looks at a strike. Sandberg is walked, fly to right, single to center. Cormier, a long pause. Sandberg waiting in the 0-1 as a chopper to the right side. The Cubs cannot cash in. They get 2 hits, leave 2. Cubs have stranded 7 men through the first 6 innings in this 3-3 game. Last of the 6th inning coming your way from here in St. Louis. 3-3 game in game 2 in this 3-game set. Cubs winners last night 8-2 as Greg Maddux collected his 17th win. Got help in the final inning from Jeff Robinson as they handed Omar Olivares his 9th loss in 17 decisions.
I think it's going to be good next year when Sean Dunston is playing every day, Tom, because I think that he would drive the players crazy if he spent more time on the bench than he spent this year. He's a very active fellow.
Did you see that look right there by Rick Wilkins? Sean dropped one of those lines on him, and Rick, a big deep breath as if to say, oh, you got to be kidding. Now he's going to go work on somebody else.
He can't spend too long in one place. They ask him to keep on moving.
I tell you, he is fun to have around. It's not the same. When Dunston is traveling with this ball club, there's a lot more fun to be had. You know he drives his family crazy.
I'm on TV, man. I'm on TV.
Sean's on TV.
Hey,
Don't bother him.
Hey, Tom.
Good to see you, Sean. 1-2 the count on Felix Jose. Over the mound, fielded by Arias, throws, and he did not get it. Jose legged it out.
I think that's where inexperience got Alex Arias. He didn't realize that Jose has that kind of speed, and he took his time going up the middle. This dictated a bang-bang play at first, and watch Arias. He nonchalants this ball and kind of tosses it over there, and he does not get Jose, who can fly down the line. So the lessons a young man learns in the major leagues, and that's just knowing the man who hit the ball. Of course, Alex Arias didn't realize how fast Jose was.
Felix Jose, 20 stolen bases last year, 25 this season. He's been thrown out 9 times. He is a go-ahead run here in the bottom of the 6th inning of a 3-3 game, and the batter now is Rod Brewer. 1 hit and 2 at-bats.
It's the most unusual Cardinal attack tonight because all of their runs scored via the home run, and Joe Torre doesn't get the long ball too much out of this team. He says they have to run their way into runs.
There's a hit into right center. Jose down the line to second base. 2 on and nobody out. And we'll see if the Cubs bullpen will get started.
I think, Tom, if you're fighting for a pennant and you're the Cardinals, you might entertain the idea of bunting with Canseco here if the game really meant a whole lot. But Joe Torre wants to find out a whole lot about Ozzie Canseco and how he hits in certain situations. I think they're going to let him swing away and see just what he can do.
Canseco is bounced to short, fouled out to Mark Grace at first. Big swing and a miss.
Canseco has grounded into 1 double play. He's only had 27 at-bats. 88 pitches now for Mike Morgan. And there's Mike Perez loosening up. And nobody up in the bullpen for the Cubs.
2 on, none out. 0-1 to Canseco. And it goes to a ball and a strike. Ozzie hit 22 home runs down at AAA Louisville this season.
More times than not this year. The reason why Mike Morgan has a 14-6 record is in situations like this, he will throw the ground ball, and he needs one here.
3-3 game, 2 on, none out. 1-1 to Canseco, and again it's down and in. 2 balls and a strike with Todd Zeile waiting on deck.
Cardinals were very impressed with the 22 home runs at Louisville, Tom, because that's not an easy park to hit the ball out of.
Well, it's not as a right-handed batter. They have a very short porch in right field. But Canseco, more times than not, will pull his, and they say when he hits them, you know it, just like his brother Jose. Well, a big pitch coming up. Langford at second base, or rather Felix Jose, I'm sorry. Rod Brewer at first. 3-1 delivery. He went after what looked like ball 4.
Well, that's the spot that you want to pitch Canseco. But normally you wait till you get ahead of him. Then you can bust the fastball up and in. Down and in is not a good pitch. But anything above the belt, about 6 inches inside, you can throw by him. Ozzie has to get his hands out to hit successfully. If you force him to bring his hands in, he's not going to get the head of the bat on the ball.
3-2, 2 on, none out. Morgan checks the scene. There go the runners, and a bouncing ball through the hole. This will get in the lead run. Ozzie Canseco drives in Felix Jose, and it is a 4-3 St. Louis lead.
Run batted in number 3 for Canseco, and Joe Torre using the hit and run with a big man up, and this one not inside far enough by a diving Arias. And out comes Billy Connors. And so now, Tom, we'll go back, and although you can't reconstruct an inning, and you never know what is going to happen if a play was made or not made, but if Arias hustles the play on Jose, now you've got Arias playing Canseco as a pull hitter like he normally is. You don't worry about the hit and run if you're the shortstop, and it's a completely different inning. So that one particular play turned around the inning for the Cubs. And they're in danger of falling well behind in this one, with Morgan in a world of trouble here in the 6th.
Now Billy Connors heading back to the dugout. While we have a chance, let's step aside for a station ID on the Chicago Cubs television network.
This is WGN-TV Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Back with Steve Stone, I'm Tom Brenneman at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. 3 consecutive hits by the Cardinals to open up the 6th. And they have taken a 4-3 advantage. Brewer at second, Canseco with the RBI single at first, and here's Todd Zeile, who is 0 for 1. Lined hard to left field in the 4th inning after drawing a 2nd inning walk. There's a strike. Morgan on the ropes here in the last of the 6th. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, the Zeile story, well documented this season. Started off with a bang. Fell way down. Went about 2.5 months without a home run. They sent him to AAA Louisville, and since being called up, or at least up until last night, when he went 0 for 5, he was swinging a pretty good bat. .310 with a homer since his call-up. There go the runners, and another single in the left. Rounding third is Brewer. Here comes the throw, cut off by Buechele. So again, Joe Torre rolling the dice. He loves those runners on the move, and he's cashed in with a 5-3 lead.
We talked about Joe Torre never waiting back in this ballpark for the big inning. He will always send his runners. He's got a team based on speed, and although Brewer doesn't have good speed because he's running, he puts the Cardinals on top by 2, and that's going to be it for Mike Morgan. One of the few times the second half of the year that Mike Morgan has not had good stuff, and he will make the relatively early exit.
4 straight hits have led to 2 runs in the 6th inning. The Cardinals lead 5-3, and we'll be back with more following this timeout.
The Illinois Bell first call to the bullpen is Chuck McElroy. The record 4-6, the ERA 2.76, on for the 62nd time. He inherits Cardinal base runners at first and second. Nobody out here in the 6th inning. The Cubs looking up at a 2-run deficit, and Mike Morgan making the early departure. So McElroy has got to hold the Cardinals right here as Cormier, although he had his difficulties, it's been fairly difficult for the Cubs to push any runs across again.
Well, it looks as though Rich Gedman will be taken down for a pinch hitter as well. Craig Wilson, who has made a pretty darn good career out of pinch hitting, will come up there to bat for him. Wilson has not excelled as he has in years past this season, just 4 out of 22 with a couple of RBIs off the Redbird bench. But a .301 batter with 10 RBIs overall on the season. 4 hits, 2 runs, nobody out. Cardinals 5, Cubs 3. Wilson showing bunt, and the pitch is wide for a ball.
Outfield straight away for Wilson. Not his typical good year as a pinch hitter, but he's a pretty valuable man off the bench. He can play a lot of positions for you.
Squares around again. This time it missed inside. 2-0. Well, with a 2-0 count, Stoney, do you change your line of thinking now as we look at Bucky Dent up at third base?
What I do, Tom, with nobody out is I have Wilson take 1 pitch, because you never know, a pitcher coming in might go to 3-0, and you might not have to bunt the ball to get the bases loaded.
Well, he bunts it, and it is a foul ball. Home plate umpire Bob Davidson came right out of his crouch position and said it was foul, so everybody will go back to where they started, and a 2-1 count on Wilson.
Bob Davidson calling this one foul immediately. And remember, it's not where Joe Girardi is, it's where the ball is. Now, Tom, I think the hit and run has worked so well, I would use it again right here.
Ball 3 upstairs, so Wilson just trying to give himself away. But McElroy can't find the strike zone. It was a 3-3 game when this inning started, but hits by Jose, Brewer, Canseco, and Zeile have made it 5-3. There go the runners, and a roller up the middle. It's into center. Canseco had stopped at third. He'll come in to score on to third. goes Todd Zeile, and it is 6-3 St. Louis.
3 straight hit and runs. And Tom, I can't remember the last time we saw that. All work to perfection. This time through the middle. And Wilson has driven home his... which run is that? His 11th run of the year. I think that's going to be it for Cormier. At least he is being called back, but now I guess they're going to let him bunt.
I'll tell you one thing. I know those hit and runs can backfire on you and all kinds of things can happen, but it certainly is a lot of fun to watch.
I think it's a great way to play the game, and I think the Cubs would benefit by taking a look at this inning and how an inning is constructed with just singles. Cubs have a tendency to play station-to-station baseball, and the Cardinals have to take advantage of their speed with very little power.
Bunted into the air. Grace got it, stepping in front of McElroy, so Cormier can't get it down. He is the first out of the inning, and that ends a string of 5 consecutive singles by the Cardinals in this 6th inning.
Cormier drops the head of the bat, and anytime you drop the head of the bat, you're going to pop the ball straight up. Grace comes across, he makes the play. And the Cubs now 1 double play away from getting out of the inning. Pena has been a much better hitter from the right side this year, hitting .340.
Pena 0 for 2 tonight, has struck out twice. Is a left-handed batter, walked and scored, and they were seeing if something was going on there. Runners on the corners, 3 runs so far here in the Cardinals' 6th inning to take a 6-3 lead, and McElroy will send Wilson back to the first base bag. Well, we told you a big crowd on the hand. 43,629 paid to see it on a perfect, nice weather-wise for baseball. 2-0 to Pena. Now let's see if Wilson will get started. He does not. Hammered down the left field line, but hooking foul.
Let's see if Chuck McElroy will go to first with a pickoff attempt here, because here's the perfect hit and run count. Torrey's used it 3 times successfully. He might just try to go to the well again. Wilson with a big lead at first.
3-1. Well, we did not see it at 2-1, but now 3 balls and a strike, and Wilson not going again, and Pena wives through it. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Joe Girardi taking a look over in the dugout, and perhaps he's asking for some help on pitch selection. He puts the fingers down, and they try to get out of this inning without further damage.
There goes Wilson, and it's ball 4. The bases are loaded. And here comes Ozzie Smith. Now Ozzie, as you know, a switch hitter. .322 left-handed. .272 right-handed, so you figure they'll play the percentages and lead McElroy into faces.
Another factor, Tom, and that is that Ozzie Smith very rarely strikes out. He's fanned 28 times this year in 451 at bats. Odds are that he will get the bat on the ball. And if he hits it, to McElroy or Buechele. They've got to come home with it.
Went after an off-speed pitch there from McElroy. 0-1. Zeal is at third, Wilson at second, and Pena at first.
Despite the fact that Ozzie still runs well, he has grounded into 11 double plays.
Outfield straight away and shallow. It looks as though Arias is a step in from where he normally would be at short. Buechele even with a bag at third. Went after the pitch, couldn't get it, but it rolls all the way over near the dugout. Zeal will score to make it 7-3. Wilson to third, Pena to second.
Well, as we've seen so often this year, the Cubs with another wild pitch. That's the team's 61st wild pitch. This ball getting away from Girardi. Might have hit off the shoe of Bob Davidson. That probably was a pitch that Girardi should have blocked, however. Although it was just barely in the dirt. I think Joe should have stopped that one.
Infield in now, 0-2 to Smith, and he checks his swing, strike 3. So now 2 down in the inning, and here comes Langford. First strikeout for McElroy. And Langford is the 9th man to bat in this inning. Langford down a strike. Mike Morgan, 5+ innings, 8 hits, 7 earned runs. He walked 2 and fanned 2. Four-run 6th inning has made it a 4-run Cardinal lead, 7-3, and now it's a ball and a strike on Langford, who hit the 2-run home run back in the 3rd inning.
I think this inning you saw, Tom, how you're better off being a fly ball pitcher in this park than a ground ball pitcher at times. Morgan had a lot of seeing eye hits, but on this surface, if ground ball isn't hit at somebody, it goes through.
1-2 now to Langford. Four runs in, 2 men on, 2 men out. A ball and 2 strikes. McElroy to Langford, and it goes to 2-2 as a fastball is upstairs. Now the Pirates come up with 3 runs in the top of the 7th inning. They have tied Philadelphia at 4 in the bottom of the 7th. Three and 2. Wilson at third base, Pena at second. 3-2 to Langford. He struck him out swinging to end the inning. But St. Louis 4 runs, 5 hits, 2 left. Harry back into 7 through 6. Cardinals 7, Cubs 3.
Hello again, everybody. Harry Carey with Steve Stone and Tom Brenneman. And boy, things have changed. The Cardinals now lead 7-3 as we go into the top of the 7th. Grace will lead it off. We'll have a Tom Pagnozzi, I guess, is catching. Here's the pitch. Grace takes the strike. Tonight's designated butt batter is Judith Frazier of Deltona, Florida. Judith has the chance to win $100 immediately and a share in a $10,000 bonus pool to be awarded at the end of the season. A bunt right back to the pitcher, easy out. One away. So congratulations and good luck to Judith Frazier of Deltona, Florida, tonight's designated butt batter.
You don't see Mark Grace do that very often, but apparently he felt that Cormier was been pretty tough on him.
For the Redbirds, 1 out. One ball, no strikes, one out. All 7 runs have been charged to Mike Morgan. He put the 4 men on hits to start the 6th. Boy, they put on 3 consecutive hit and runs and made them all work.
Joe Torre said before the series started, Harry, that he cannot wait for the long ball. And though he scored the first 3 on the home run tonight, this is a team based on speed, and he showed you his philosophy about managing. Just keep sending it.
There's a ground ball. Zeal has it over the first. 2 gone. Steve Buechele, top of the 7th. The Cubs, for a fraction of a second, it seems like, led 1-0. 2 home runs by the Cardinals in the 3rd accounted for 3 runs. Then in the 6th, 5 consecutive singles produced 4 runs. They had 5 singles, all 5 of them in a row, and a base on balls and a wild pitch. Fouled out of play, 0-2.
The Cubs doing tonight what they did last night as far as the hits are concerned. They strung together a lot of base hits last night. But with Maddox on the mound, it was relatively easy. Tonight, Morgan just did not have it. And the Cubs have some catching up to do.
1 ball, 2 strikes, and very little time to do it in. 7-3. The Cardinals lead. The Pirates, who are behind 4-0, have tied up the Phillies. Montreal has defeated the Mets 4-1. The Pirates are tied at Philadelphia 4-4. Atlanta leading Houston 6-3. Bouncing ball. Nice pickup by Zeal. Over the first to retire the side. 1-2-3. We go into the bottom of the 7th. 7-3 Cardinals. We go in the bottom of the 7th. St. Louis out in front 7-3.
Jeff Robinson comes into the game. Chuck McElroy went an inning, gave up a hit, a walk, and struck out 2. And Robinson comes into this one 3-3. The ERA 3.18 on for the 43rd time.
And here's the man who started it all in the 6th with an infield hit. Little did we dream then that what would happen would. That infield hit was the first of 5 consecutive base hits. There's a ground ball. Nice play. Sandberg throws him out. Boy, that Felix Jose can really run. 1 out. The Cubs have 2 chances, the 8th and the 9th. And keep in mind, one of the best relief pitchers in baseball, Lee Smith, is down in their bullpen.
And that's what Robinson has done against the Cardinals, and he's thrown very well against them.
1 ball, no strikes. Rod Brewer, who's had a good night. 2 out of 3.
3 different years in the course of his career, he's led the entire Cardinal organization in driving in runs. That includes the major leagues. Now, although he wasn't here, he still had more runs batted in than anybody else. And they think that if he gets a full shot, he can play first base.
Boy, he started a fine 3-6-3 double play earlier in the game. Boy, he fired a bullet at Ozzie Smith and took the return throw. The ball was really scalded by Derek May. There's another deflected by Robinson. Over to Sandberg, who throws him out. 2 gone. Bottom of the 7th. Here's Ozzie Canseco. He drove in the first run in that big 6th inning. A hit and run ground ball single to left that drove in Jose.
Canseco has been pretty impressive in this series. He's had 3 hits, and he hasn't swung at too many bad pitches.
Curveball outside, ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes, 2 out, nobody on. The Cubs replaced the Cardinals in 3rd place with their victory last night. The Cardinals could regain 3rd place by winning the game tonight. Canseco gets a base on ball. And here's Todd Zeile. He delivered a hit and run RBI single in that 6th inning.
Ozzie was on base 3 out of 4 times last night with a base on balls and 2 hits, and he's been on base twice out of 4 times tonight. So it's been a very good series for him.
Boy, he's just as big as his twin brother. And he is an identical twin. I've never seen twins look any more alike than these 2 guys do. Into the dirt. A wild pitch was thrown in the process of the 5 base hits in a row in that 6th inning, allowing a run to score. Todd Zeile, a UCLA boy. There goes the runner. There's a drive way back. It might be out of here. It could be. There it is. A home run. Zeile 7th of the year. And now the Cardinals lead 9-3.
Well, that's the ultimate hit and run because Canseco was going and Zeile hit number 7. He now has driven in 44. And apparently they served a wake-up call to Todd Zeile, sending him down to Louisville. Here's a man that was on the cover of the media guide this year for the Cardinals. But since coming back after a very, very poor start, Todd Zeile is hitting everything in sight.
Well, they've scored 5 runs now on home runs, has developed 3 home runs, and they scored 4 runs on just base hits, singles. 1 ball, 1 strike. So I would say their lineup has been well balanced against the Cubs pitching this evening. 9-3, each team with 10 hits. Zeile now with 3 RBIs for the night. Jeff Robinson touched for 2 quick runs. That was the 5th home run hit off Jeff this year.
I don't know how many times it's happened, but I can't believe the Cardinals have hit 3 home runs in 1 game too often this year. Jeff Hartsock loosening up.
There's a high pop foul back. 3-2. The Cardinals will be at Wrigley Field next weekend. Friday, a doubleheader Saturday, and a game Sunday. 4-game series. Agnazzi flies out the end of the inning. 2 runs, 1 hit. Nobody left. At the end of 7th, it's 9-3 St. Louis. Harry Carey and Steve Stone were back at the ballpark. They have 46,107 here tonight, of which 43,629 paid. Big banner crowd. Here's Derek May. Turns on one, fouls it off. Derek has hit the ball hard. All night long, nothing out of 3. He hit that 3-6-3 double play. He hit a rocket down to Brewer with the help of Ozzie Smith. Completed the double play, 3-6-3. May, Girardi, and Arias coming up this inning. The Cubs trail 9-3. This is a nip and tuck ball game for 5.5 innings. But the Cardinals got 4 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, and now lead 9-3. Swung, and he struck him out.
There's a look at Jeff Hartsock, and it looks like he's going to come into the ball game and get his first look as a Chicago Cub.
Cormier has only had 1 complete game this year. 1 out, nobody on. Same 2 teams tomorrow night, starting at 7 o'clock. We will not televise, but we will be on radio. The next telecast Monday evening against the... There's a drive foul out of play. The New York Mets, Monday night, 7 o'clock, Chicago time at Wrigley Field.
It's going to be an 8-game homestand with the Mets coming in for 2, followed by the Phillies for 2, and then St. Louis for 4 over the weekend with a doubleheader on Saturday.
Jose De Leon was signed by the Phillies to a 2-year contract the other day, started today, and shut the Pirates out, I believe, for 7 innings. But the Pirates came back and have tied it up. Four in the 8th. Tigers pounded Clemens and beat the Red Sox. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Milwaukee shut out Baltimore. Cleveland defeated the White Sox again. 2 balls, 2 strikes. High pop fly. Easy out. And Langford puts it away. Here's Arias. Nothing out of 2. 2 out here in the top of the 8th.
Second half of the season, the Cardinals seem to have gotten a whole lot better. In fact, they've won 8 of their last 9 series. And if this lead holds up, and it looks like it probably will, it'll come down to the rubber game tomorrow to make it 9 out of 10 series for the Cardinals.
Strike call. 0-1, 2 out. Each team with 10 hits. Well, they have 9 runs, and the Cubs have 3. Hector Villanueva coming on the on-deck circle. Should Arias get on, he'll bat for Jeff Robinson. But there are 2 out. Bouncing ball, that ought to be easy. To end the inning, 1, 2, 3. We go in the bottom of the 8th, 9-3 St. Louis. We have a lot of changes for the Cubs. First of all, on the mound, Jeff Hartsock. Luis Salazar playing third base. Villanueva playing first base. Strange is at second base. Fernando Ramsey in center field. Kunkel. Where's Kunkel playing? Second base. No, Strange is at second. Kunkel is shortstop. Kunkel at short. Well, I guess this game's over anyhow. And give the regulars a little rest.
And Jeff Hartsock comes into the game. He had a somewhat disappointing year at AAA. But this is still very exciting for him as he faces a major league hitter. Guy who's done a pretty good job tonight in Real Cormier.
Cormier, first pitch in the center field. A base hit. Cormier, the pitcher, singles to center. And now the Cubs have been out-hit by the Cardinals. Todd Worrell limbering up in the bullpen. There is no save situation involved. There are too many runs ahead as of now. Here's Geronimo Pena. A little bit outside. Boy, you gotta love that name. Geronimo Pena.
Bullpen up and going for the Cubs.
Change speeds that time. Ball two. Pena has walked twice. A switch hitter. Line drive, center field. Another base hit. Runners at first and second. Nobody out. 2 men are on base. Cormier at second. Pena at first.
Jeff Hartsock was 5-12 with a 4.36 ERA for Iowa.
There's a pitch in the dirt. Saved from being a wild pitch by Joe Girardi. 1 ball, no strikes.
Ozzie Smith is the only man in the Cardinal lineup, including Cormier, that does not have a base hit tonight.
You want to bet?
Miss it, bet?
2 balls, no strikes.
Not that with what Jeff is throwing at this point.
Ozzie 0 for 4. Runners at first and second. The pitch. Foul to back. Well, maybe they'll be too tired for tomorrow night and the Cubs will beat them easy. It looks like tomorrow will be the rubber game of the series. Whoever wins tomorrow night will be in third place by half a game in the case of the Cubs. 0 for 5 for Ozzie. Force out at second base. Runners at first and third. From Kunkel to Strange on the fourth side. And here is Ray Langford, who started it all, a 2-run homer in the third. Spoiling the only lead the Cubs have had all night. They were leading 1-0 at that time when he hit a 2-run homer to put the Cardinals ahead 2-1. Felix Jose follow with another homer, and they led 3-1. The Cubs tied it in the fourth, and that was the end.
Give you an idea
Cardinals
about.
got 4 in the 6th, 2 in the 7th, and that's how they lead 9-3.
Give you an idea about how rare that was. It was the first time all year that the Cubs pitching has given up back-to-back home runs, and it took until the middle of September to do it.
Swung and fouled it back. Langford. With 70 runs batted in now, 16 home runs. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, 2 on. A little bit low, ball 2. Joe Girardi behind the plate. High pop foul out of play. Cincinnati leading at San Diego 2-0 in the third. Two pitch. Inside, ball 3. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Jim Bullinger tomorrow against Bob Tewksbury, who leads the National League in earned run average. Ball 4, the bases are loaded again. DeCenzo's in right, Salazar's at third, Villanueva at first, Strange at second, Kunkel at short, Mays in left, Girardi behind the plate, and Hartsock is on the mound. Felix Jose. High and outside. And Girardi goes out to talk to him. He has faced 4 men. Retired just one of them. 9-3.
Outfield playing Jose is a dead pull hitter with Ramsey well around into right center. Jose does have some power, and he has it from either side of the plate.
Outfield deep. Outside, ball 2. 2 balls, no strikes, 1 out, bases loaded. $43,629 paid tonight. Swung and he missed. He may have swung at a bad pitch. 2 balls and a strike.
The Cardinals have always loved switch hitters. If they don't develop them themselves, then they trade for them. Normally, this lineup will have 3 or 4 switch hitters every night.
2 balls and the strike. Swung and he missed. And the count is evened up. This is the 13th game this year between these 2 clubs. 13 so far is unlucky for the Cubs, who trail 9-3. But the Cubs have won 9 games this year, 9 out of 12. Foul ball into the stands. Bob Tewksbury against Jim Bullinger tomorrow night at 7 o'clock.
Big Lee Smith loosening up in the bullpen.
2-2 pitch. There's a drive. In the left center field, a drop, base hit. 1 run in, 2 runs in. Cormier and Ozzie Smith have crossed the plate.
Jose now has 63 runs batted in. He did not play in last night's game, but he's been a big factor here tonight, and that's going to be it for Jeff Hartsock, who had a most inauspicious debut as a Cub pitcher.
He allowed 3 hits, 2 runs, and leaves 2 men on base. He's going to leave the game. We'll tell you about his replacement following this message. Paul Asemacher with the score 11-3 in favor of the Cardinals. Runners on first and second and only 1 out. Replaces Hartsock.
Paul Asemacher trying to stem the tide. It's been all Cardinals tonight as Asemacher comes in at 4-2. The ERA 3.57. He's on for the 59th time. And the Cubs ERA, Harry, which was down to 2.96, has been taking a pounding of late.
You know, I'm just thinking, Hartsock didn't have a good year. You probably shouldn't expect him to do much better than he's done. But he's got to be nervous. It's the first major league game he's ever been in. Why not let him go ahead and finish the game? At least get some experience.
Well, I think what we're seeing now, Harry, is the fact that the Cub bullpen is just a little tired all the way down the line, because the same guys that were getting people out for 4.5 or 5 months over the last couple of weeks are not getting anybody out, and that's up and down the board.
Here's Ron Brewer's had a good night. Good curveball. Strike 2. Asemacher, veteran reliever. 0-2 the count. He has a good ratio of strikeouts per innings pitched. Fouls it back. Asemacher in 58 innings has fanned 60 men. That's better than 1 an inning. 0-2. 1 out. Sit down out there, Lee Smith.
You don't think you can get a save with 8 runs up? Apparently Lee hasn't had a whole lot of work lately, so Joe Torre might just run him in there in the 9th.
I think it's a form of intimidation, that's all, for the opposition. When you're 8 runs behind and you look up and see fireballing Lee Smith throwing the ball in the bullpen.
Well, now Jim Lefebvre's coming out. I think that he might go to the bullpen again, because I think, Harry, that you want to save the all-important 12th run.
And Brewer has been called out on strikes, and Asemacher keeps up his ratio. We'll have more following this announcement. Heathcliff Slocum will face Ozzie Canseco with 2 out and runners at first and second. 11-3 Cardinals. Oh boy, he had a cut. Slocum throws hard. Boy, the way Ozzie swings that bat, and as hard as Slocum throws, a tape measure home run, if he hits one, would result. He swings with a high fastball.
Slocum on for the 23rd time. 0-2, a 5.60 ERA. And this is a big out.
The Cardinals have 13 hits. 3 of them home run. Girardi knocks the ball down. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Joe's had a busy night behind the plate.
I don't think he's going to go out dancing tonight.
No, he's taking a beating back there, blocking probably 6 different pitches that could have easily been wild pitches.
2 men are out. 2 men are in. 2 men are on. That evens the count. 2 balls, 2 strikes. High fly ball into deep center field will be caught. And Ramsey hauls it in. 2 runs, 2 left. At the end of 8, the Cardinals lead 11-3.
She's coming to Chicago.
Cubs Sport Bag, only at 76.
Harry Carey and Steve Stone from Bush Memorial Stadium. The producer director of Cubs baseball is Arnie Harris. The coordinating producer is Bill Borson. And our associate producer is Joe Carneal. Here is Ramsey. Fernando Ramsey leading off. He's 0 for 1. He pinch ran once and he batted yesterday. Flat out. 1 strike and nothing. Cormier going for his 2nd complete game. Remember, the news follows the ball game. I'll bet you anything that Cormier didn't dream he'd still be pitching in the 9th. The way things started out. But the Cubs had trouble picking up runs when they had chances in the first 5 innings. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Ramsey. Into the stands. It is foul, and everybody turns around.
The real rough spot for Cormier was the 4th inning. Since the 4th inning, the Cubs have managed just 3 singles. And they were quickly erased.
Ramsey waiting. 2 balls, 2 strikes. This fellow was an Olympic sprinter. Jimmy Pearsall raves about his speed and ability to go track a ball down and catch it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bouncing ball. Easy out, 1 away. Let's pause here for identification.
This is WGN-TV Chicago, America's #1 sports station.
Hey, you're a well-learned man. The full moon seems to be shrinking all the time. When it completely shrinks, where does it go?
Where does it go?
Skokie? No, not Skokie. DeCenzo, easy out. 2 gone. What happens to it? What happens to the moon?
Well, it just sits there, Harry, and the clouds cover it. But right now, you don't have to worry about that because it's a beautiful sight. Although this evening has not been particularly good looking for the Cubs.
It's smaller right now than it was last night. 2 men are out.
It's an optical delusion.
Illusion. Here's Salazar. Strike call. Two men around, nobody on base. 11-3 in favor of the St. Louis Cardinals. Morgan will be 14-7. Cormier 7-10. And this will be Cormier's second complete game of the year. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 out. Louis fouled it back. Pan this crowd in the stands, Arnie, if you can. Oh, all those seats were filled a little while ago. The game is over and the Cardinals are back in 3rd place, a half a game ahead of the Chicago Cubs. We'll be back in a moment. The Budweiser play of the night happened in the 6th inning. Ozzie Canseco, the batter, the runners start. A hit-and-run single to left that drives in Felix Jose with a run to put the Cardinals ahead 4-3. They went on to score a total of 4 in the 6th, adding 2 in the 7th and 2 in the 8th to win by the score of 11-3. So Morgan is the loser and Cormier is the winner, and we'll be back now in a moment to tell you more about it. There'll be no television tomorrow night, so the next Cubs telecast will be Monday night from Wrigley Field when the Cubs open a homestand against the New York Mets. Broadcast time, television time at 7 o'clock Monday night, Chicago time. We'll be back now in a moment.
Two, 222222.
Remember the news which follows our ball game in just a moment. There are the totals. Look out there. There's this whole story of tonight's ball game. 11 runs, 13 hits, no errors for the St. Louis Cardinals, who have regained 3rd place by half a game in the standings over the Chicago Cubs, who scored 3 runs on 10 hits and no errors. The winning pitcher making his 2nd complete game of the year was Real Cormier, who now has a record of 7 games won and 10 lost. And for Mike Morgan, this is one of his few poor performances. He was charged with 7 out of the 11 runs made by the St. Louis Cardinals. And that's the most runs have been scored on him, I believe, all year long. Morgan's record now, he has won 14 and lost 7. Home runs, Langford, number 16, Jose, number 14, and Zeal, number 7. Well, that does it. Remember, the news follows immediately. Harry Carey from St. Louis. So long, everybody.
Chicago Cubs baseball on Channel 9. The Cubs have been brought to you by Bud Light. Everything else is just a light. By True Value. Got a tough job to do? You can do it with True Value hardware stores. Pepsi-Cola. Gotta have it. By your local 76 dealers who invite you to go with the spirit of 76. And by the Chicago Tribune. Get in the game. Get a Tribune.